Okay, so we see we have an earth current error, and we can get two representations of that. One through our display, the text saying earth current. It'd be better if it said earth current error, but you can get the logistics of it there. And you also see the red and the yellow LED line, LED on solid. So at this point we want to go ahead and perform a clearing of the earth current error by removing the GFDI fuse. And there's a sequence that we need to follow. First of all, we need to power down the unit, both AC and DC. So I'll go ahead and kill the DC breaker. And hopefully nearby we'll find a circuit breaker or a disconnect for the AC side. And looks like we got it labeled there. This happens to be an 1800, so we're at a single breaker. And we'll wait for all of the voltage to bleed out of the capacitors. So we'll wait for no LEDs on at all. Once we see that there's no LEDs there and the display's off, then we'll go ahead and remove the GFDI fuse, which is basically right near the DC or the PV entrance. Okay, looks like we are at that point now. So we'll go ahead and remove the GFDI fuse up underneath here, and as a precaution, you only want to touch the plastic. It's got the little threaded pieces on it, like nothing else, no metal touching, and we'll remove it. And at this point we'll want to turn back on the DC, so we'll go ahead and do that. And we really don't need to bring on the AC at this point. It'll come back on, and if we can knock on the display here, it takes maybe 15 or 20 seconds, and if your PV array no longer has this earth current error, the yellow LED will clear and it will go to a GFDI fuse open error. And that looks like what we have here. Of course, since we have the GFDI fuse removed. Now in a lot of cases, if this was a hard enough earth current error, it will actually blow the GFDI fuse. At that point we would measure it, a resistance measurement, of course off of the unit, and verify that he's still good. So we can do a continuity check on this. I previously did this experiment and this guy is good. At this point we want to go ahead and one more time disconnect the DC. Then we'll wait for it to bleed down. Once we see all things off, then we'll actually put the fuse back in there. Now if there was a problem with your array, and for instance an intermittent earth fault, it very well could be working just like we see here, and yet it could surface again at some other point in time. So just because we did this now doesn't ensure that our array is free from intermittent faults. That's a separate procedure in evaluating the array itself over a period of time, meaning was there water introduced to the modules? What kind of conditions were going on during this error happened? Okay, looks like everything's off. Okay, we'll go ahead and insert the GFDI fuse. Okay, if you get the DC switch there, the PV switch. And at this point we better see the unit come up. And we have not turned on the AC breaker, but as we can see the red light's gone now. And of course we do see an AC issue here. We're beyond that point now. So the earth current error has been cleared, and we're going to go ahead and return our AC power. Circuit breaker's back on. And we're going to have to go through a waiting time here. At this point, the key is that we no longer see any errors, and the green light will be blinking to a point where there's a timeout. A 5-minute timeout is needed for safety concerns, and at that point we'll go through its normal process there about grid monitoring and eventually connecting to the grid and pushing power. So at this point it looks like the earth current error has been cleared through our GFDI fuse and that whole process.